Hey everyone, it's Penny, and I'm going to do things a little differently today because I need to deliver the news, set the table, and then honestly, I need to go do a ton of research before I can give you my full analysis. But Aduro Clean Tech just dropped a press release this morning that does something very exciting. They filed a continuation in part patent application with the US Patent Office that extends hydrokinetic technology to a third kind of hydrocarbon feedstock. So here's the headline in plain English. You already know that HCT works on waste plastics. That's the Chemalot FOAK story, chemical recycling, the HPU vertical. You already know that HCT works on heavy bitumen. That's HBU, the Alberta upgrading story. Today, Aduro announced that HCT also works on highly paraffinic crude oil, specifically the waxy crude coming out of Utah's Uinta Basin. They ran bench scale tests on both yellow wax and black wax feedstocks, and the chemistry did what it's designed to do. It reduced the wax content and produced a lighter crude that stays stable at ambient conditions. Stable at ambient conditions. Remember that phrase because we're going to come back to it. So this is the third feedstock where HCT has been validated at the bench. 3 completely different hydrocarbon chemistries, 1 water-based reaction platform. If you've been following my thesis on Aduro, this is exactly the kind of data point that validates it. 1 Swiss Army knife, 3 major markets. Now, let me tell you why stable at ambient conditions is such a big deal. So paraffinic crude, waxy crude has a pour point of about 105 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That means that at normal room temperature, it has the consistency of like shoe polish. You cannot move it through a conventional pipeline. You have to truck it in heated, insulated tankers. You have to transload it into insulated steam coil equipped rail cars. Then you have to store it in heated tanks. And then when it finally arrives at the Gulf Coast, you have to pump steam through the rail car coils just to liquefy it again so it can be offloaded. So when the press release says stable at ambient conditions, that is the entire cold chain I just described gone. So this is not a hypothetical. This is what every single barrel of Uinta Basin crude goes through today to get to a refinery that can actually process it. And it's the reason that the Uinta Basin, which is producing roughly 185,000 barrels a day as of 2025, according to the EIA, it has a growth ceiling that's not defined by geology, but rather the logistics infrastructure. Heated trucks, coiled rail cars, specialized offloading equipment. Only certain refineries can even take the barrel. So I want you to sit with the scale of the resource for a second because this is not a small play. The Green River Formation sitting underneath the Uinta Basin in Utah and the adjacent Piceance Basin in Colorado is the largest oil shale deposit on Earth. The U.S. Geological Survey estimates 1.3 trillion barrels of oil in place in the Uinta Basin alone. Most of that is locked in shale rock and isn't commercially recoverable today. But the conventional and tight oil portion of that same formation, the waxy crude that is actually producing right now, is still estimated by several sources in the tens of billions of recoverable barrels. That alone would rank among the top national reserves in the world. And it's sitting under one U.S. state, under one administration that has made developing domestic production a national priority. So what Aduro has demonstrated at the bench is that HCT can take that waxy crude and turn it into a transport-ready intermediate that doesn't need any of that. If the results replicate at pilot and demonstration scale, and obviously we have a long research and development road before we get there, you're looking at technology designed to unlock the commercial reach of a feedstock that the US government has made a national priority to produce more of. And this is where I have to be honest with you. I need to go do my homework because this news opens up an entirely different ball of wax, pun absolutely intended, and I want to do it justice. So here's what I'm going to dig into for the big video. The US just hit record crude production, 13.6 million barrels per day in 2025. There's a Trump executive order called Unleashing American Energy. There's a National Energy Dominance Council. The Supreme Court cleared a major hurdle for the Uinta Basin Railway in an 8-0 decision last May. The BLM approved the Wildcat loadout expansion in an accelerated 2-week review last July. And the single thing tying all of that infrastructure together is the need to physically move the paraffinic crude, which is the fastest growing oil production stream in North America, to refineries that can process it. Aduro's technology, if it scales, addresses exactly that bottleneck without needing a subsidy, without needing a mandate, without needing a change of administration, without needing anything other than chemistry that works. The global scale is even bigger. Paraffinic crudes aren't just a Uinta story. They're roughly a quarter to a third of global crude production. Similar logistics constraints exist across Africa, Asia, the former Soviet Union. The Uinta is the showcase. The potential market is the world. Zoom back out with me for a second. So Aduro now has bench scale validation of HCT across waste plastics, the largest waste stream in the chemical recycling conversation, heavy bitumen, a massive Alberta upgrading opportunity, and highly paraffinic crude, a 20 to 33% slice of global oil production. That's 3 distinct hydrocarbon chemistries responding to one core reaction platform. For anyone still asking, is this a one-trick pony? The answer from the lab today is no. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go research every single thread I just mentioned, the policy context, the Uinta geology, the global paraffinic market, the refinery economics, all of it. And then I'm going to come back with a bigger video that does this announcement justice. So this is everything for me today because the news release opens up an entirely new ball of wax and I need to start researching. So if you're a shareholder, you know the drill. I am long Aduro. I've owned this stock since right after it IPO'd, and this is not financial advice. Do your own work, and I will see you at the next video.